All right, everyone, we are going to get started here. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their day today to join us for our town hall about reopening and our reentry plan to school. My name is Jeff Youngberg. I am the proud principal of Finley Junior High School. And I'm going to introduce to you Dr. Mendoza, who is our EL director, and Mr. Kerry Hildegans, who is our Special Services Director. They are here joining me here today. Our assistant principal, Mrs. Julie Bazian, is off on maternity leave. She will be joining us here after the Labor Day holiday. But at this time, Ms. Mendoza and Mr. Hildegans, if you'd like to say a few words, go right ahead.
Well, thank you for joining us, and I just wanted to share with you what our EL program will be looking like. It's a little different this year, but with Finley, we were able to, we have the 3 teachers that are EL teachers that will serve as our students. They will be able to provide instruction for our remote learners. Ms. LaChance, she will be with the 6th graders, Ms. Wheeler with the 7th graders, and Ms. Muhammad with the 8th graders for remote learning. When they are in person for the hybrid model, they will still receive their services and they will be able to have the smaller group. However, it would look definitely different, and based on the classroom size, we looked at having about 6 students at one time within those classrooms.
Right. And as far as special education, we were able to add a 4th special education teacher to Finley this year. Mr. Perkins is joining us to teach the self-contained classrooms that we'll have. We've arranged the schedule a bit so that we can have our teachers providing both the in-person as well as the remote learning. What we're still considering is whether or not we might have any of the students linking in remotely to participate in those discussions that are taking place in person. As for right now, they're separated, but we'll be providing those services from each of the Finley special education teachers to your students that attend the junior high.
Thank you both. And I did get a message here. Some of the volume is not working as great as we would like. If everybody could just do their best to stay muted throughout this time if you are not speaking, because that does help with the quality of the sound. Before I do get going into our reentry plan, I would just like to thank everybody for their patience during this planning and preparation. I can tell you that there has been a large number of changes that have been made throughout our planning process, and things do continually change throughout this with students or families electing to go remote and things with staffing. So we just want to thank you guys for all of your patience, and I just encourage you to still remain flexible as things may change, even from this plan that I share with you here today. I can tell you that every decision that has been made from the district office to the building level and with our teachers has been very collaborative, and it's been made very cautiously with the intent of keeping all of our teachers, staff, students, and their families safe throughout this experience, which is why we have gone to that A-B model, hybrid model, and then also allowed for our families to select the remote learning as well. At this time, what I'm going to do is share my screen and our reentry plan, and I am going to kind of go through specifically and highlight areas of the reentry and throughout our day here at the junior high that are going to be of the utmost importance. But before we get into that, obviously, all of these decisions have been very influenced by the Illinois State Board of Education and the Illinois Department of Public Health. Their guidance has really driven what we can and will do. And as you can see here, some of the mandatory guidelines provided by ISB and the Illinois Department of Health during phase 4 require a lot of these things. So I'm just going to go through here and read this to you. During phase 4, which is what we are currently in, we do require the use of PPE, including face masks. Students will be required to wear their face masks while they are in class or in the building or on the school bus. It also prohibits us from having more than 50 individuals gathering in one space. It requires social distancing being observed as much as possible. And I'll go through some of the things we've done throughout the building with markings and stuff like that to encourage that. And then it requires that schools conduct symptom screenings and temperature checks, and that individuals self-certify that they are free of symptoms before entering the school buildings. With that, each student is going to be given at the pickup a packet or pretty much a packet of self-certification forms that they are required to bring every day and show those to our staff at the doors while they're getting their temperatures checked in order to get into school. If we do have a situation to where a student forgets their form, we will have a separate area where they will go through that certification process with our staff and get their temperatures taken. Also, they require that we have an increase of school-wide cleaning and disinfection, which we have been working around the clock and will continue to do, and put more cleaning into place as best as possible. I know we're looking at hiring more staff. We're buying new equipment and doing things with ventilations in our schools when working with our architect and the district office to make sure it is of the utmost safe environment that we can provide. Important notes to take away with COVID-19: if a child does stay home with a fever, students must be fever-free without the aid of a fever-reducing medication for a minimum of 72 hours. For the safety of your child, as well as the safety of those around them, we are asking that you do not give your child fever-reducing medication prior to sending them to school. And on here, it talks about some of those different medications. Any individual coming in close contact with a person who tested positive for COVID-19 or is suspected of having COVID-19 should isolate at home and monitor symptoms for 14 days. Close contact is defined by the Illinois State Board of Education is within 6 feet for 15 minutes. And I'm just going to pause there. As I'm going through a lot of this, I can anticipate maybe some more questions coming up or thoughts. If you would like to send me a personal chat with your questions or thoughts, by all means, you can do that. And I will do my best to answer during this town hall meeting to answer that. And if I cannot, then we will obviously get back to you with those answers. Next segment in our hand washing, hallways, restrooms area is talking about how we are marking our hallways. We have numerous stickers on the floor, signs in the hallway, and we have divided our hallways into one-way traffic to encourage social distancing and increase that at all costs. Classroom bathroom breaks are going to be closely monitored to minimize the number of children in the restroom. We are rolling out a school-wide format to where everybody would be able, all staff would be able to see how many students are signed out at that particular time, so we can minimize groupings in the restrooms with timestamps and things of that nature. Hand sanitizer stations have been placed throughout the building for easy access for our students and staff. And while the water fountains, the traditional water fountains, will not be accessible, there have been, which we did not have here before at the junior high, touchless water bottle stations that will be fully functional. We will be providing each child, we're hopeful to have these by our pickup day, a reusable water bottle that they will be able to bring home each day for washing, and then they can bring it back to school and fill that at the refillable stations, so they have water with them in the classroom and throughout the day. Arrival will look a little bit different this year. We did change a few doors for our students. And again, when they do come to school, there will be some new procedures and safety precautions put into place. we are asking that all of our students enter the building at their arrival door at these designated areas that I have listed here. For AM student arrival, all students are required to wear those face coverings when they are outside waiting for those temperature checks to maintain social distance from others. Bring that completed self-certification form and have their temperature checked prior to entering the building. Students must report to the doors below for entry. As a reminder, we are asking and very much so encouraging students not to get here prior to 8 a.m. because we don't want to have large groups of students gathering out at the doors. Our bus rider door is going to be the northeast door 2E. That is in between the district office and the Finley multipurpose room lunchroom. The 6th grade entry door is going to be the southeast door behind Finley on the playground in between Central and Finley. The 7th grade door is going to be that northwest door on Lombard Avenue, furthest away from the Finley main office. And then that 8th grade door we are changing this year to be the northwest door, 6W, which is actually closer to the Finley office. And the reason that we're doing that is to increase separation from the students and also allow for an easier flow directly into the students' homeroom, since the 8th grade classrooms are primarily on that side of the building. So it will allow for that lesser chance of that cross-contamination piece. Procedures and safety precautions. Students, like I said, will enter those doors at 8 a.m. Masks should be worn whenever social distancing is possible. Students will hand that self-certification slip to that supervisor as soon as they enter that building. And then we will be doing those touchless temperature screenings as the students approach their arrival door. Just some other things. If a child is fever-free, or she will be entering if a child is fever-free, he or she will enter the building and then go directly to their homeroom. If the temperature is 100.4 or higher and the parent is not present, the student will be directed to go to that nurse's office or quarantine area until that parent guardian is able to pick that student up from school. And then obviously on here with our students that are in the 6th grade lining up over there, that playground equipment will be off limits at that time. Traffic patterns. We do have a no bus zone here at in between Finley and Central, which allows for one-way traffic pattern on Lombard Avenue between 108th and 109th Street going northbound. And then there is also through traffic on 108th Street between Lyman and Lombard Avenues due to that bus drop-off as well. Dismissal, all walking students and those receiving their car rides for the 6th through 8th graders will be dismissed from the west doors on Lombard Avenue. And any parents picking up their students can wait there on 109th Street or Lombard Avenue for dismissal. And then only bus students will exit the east doors behind Finley on the playground area at the conclusion of each school day. Bus students will be released prior to the walking students, just to allow for that extra separation between the two groups. Lunch. Lunch this year at the junior high is going to take place in the classrooms. We are not going to be going into that lunchroom, multi-purpose room. We are requiring that all students will be hand washing prior to the lunch period and sanitizing their hands thereafter in the classroom. If weather permits, and really this goes with the classroom as well, I'm strongly encouraging students and groups to go outside with social distancing and have that lunch time. Masks can be taken off only while the child is eating and drinking. It will be very at the teacher's command, okay, let's take our masks off, we're going to eat, and then everybody at the same time will put those masks back on. Visitors will be prohibited during the school day to the greatest extent possible. Therefore, we are requesting that students have their lunch with them upon arrival to school. Any special requests for lunch, I would ask be sent to the Finley office or administration for request, whether that's going to be you're wanting to have those students maybe come out and eat lunch with you at your home or what have you. Please make those requests here at the Finley office, and we will work with you on that. Encore classes, we were able to make it work to where students are getting their Encore classes every day like they typically would. PE will take place as much as possible outside, weather permitting. When indoors, we will be doing, when outdoors, it will be 6 feet apart. Students will be allowed to remove those face coverings as long as they're practicing that social distancing. If PE is not taking place outside, which is the preference, lessons will occur in the gym, multi-purpose room, or in a classroom. We will not be, once again, allowing more than 50 students in that gym or any other area at a time. At this point, changing for PE will not occur due to COVID-19. I do know on the supply list that they were listed. That was with the intent of hopefully being able to get back to the norm some point this year. And if we're able to do that, then we would be getting back to PE uniforms and changing and things like that. But that will not be made for some time. Art, STEM, and music, those classrooms are going to be, classes are going to be taking place in the classroom. At the junior high, we have cohorted our students to basically stay in their classrooms all day, except for obviously our breaks in PE. But art, STEM, and music, those teachers, rather than the students going through passing periods and going into those classes, those teachers will be coming to them for that class. Band this year, it was very clear in the guidance that instruments and blowing into instruments and doing that is definitely an increased risk for everybody. So band this year is going to take place virtually during student study hall and lunch periods on their virtual days. So for instance, if I'm an AB student and it's an A day, those B students would be logging in with Mr. Goodman, our band director, during that lunch study hall period where he would be working with them live and providing some recorded lessons and activities and exercises for them. That is where we are at right now with band. Classroom information, desks are positioned at this point very at 6 feet or as close to 6 feet apart as we can from one another, facing in that same direction. Classroom instruction may be held outside, weather permitting. All of our staff has actual spots that they will be going to. And if they're able to get out there with the number of groups, I encourage them to have classes outside. When outdoors, again, we must stay 6 feet apart and students will be allowed to remove those face coverings. Mass breaks will be scheduled throughout the day in those specific areas as well. And obviously we have to be flexible with that due to circumstances with weather, etc. We will be limiting shared materials and resources as much as possible. Student movement will be limited, and all students who will be participating in the hybrid model will be receiving a water bottle, plastic bin to store their school supplies on the first day. So we are not doing this lockers this year at the junior high until we move into a better situation with COVID-19. They will be having these storage bins that they can keep in their classrooms, and we will not be using those lockers. As much as possible, we are assigning students to one classroom to minimize that mixing of groups and promote social distancing. There may be unique circumstances where a student has to move a cohort of students for a specific service, but we are trying to do that as limited on a case-by-case basis and limit that as much as possible. One of the biggest things that we are working very hard on is SEL, social emotional learning, trauma-informed teaching. This has been a very tough situation for families, schools, personnel, staff, students, and we really want to focus hard on SEL. And that is going to be a focus in every classroom, in every subject area, and for both of our hybrid and our virtual classrooms. And that is a definite thing we are working hard on. We're also looking at new programs to incorporate. EduGuide is one of them that we're going to be rolling out this year. That is a platform, online platform for social emotional learning that allows us to interact with our students. So you will be hearing more about that, and Carrie may speak a little bit about that later, but we're big focus on social emotional learning to throughout the school year, but most definitely to start off. Conference sports and extracurriculars this year. Unfortunately, I'm sure many of you have been watching the news and seeing that at the professional level, they're doing things. At the collegiate level, they're canceling or postponing. At the high school level, they're postponing. Same here for us. At this time, the South Suburban Junior High School Conference has postponed all sporting events through the December of 2020. The superintendents will reconvene in November to reevaluate the COVID-19 situation, and will reassess athletic competition in the spring. Possible options, just so our parents know, that are being discussed include shortening all seasons and allowing everybody to play that shortened season, or like a shortened tournament, or having to eliminate competition for certain sports due to the guidelines. So that is where we are at with sports. After school clubs will be evaluated closer to the month of October, and we will be seeing what we can do with those clubs in person or remote. One thing's for sure, whenever we do go back for whenever we go back to clubs in person or extracurriculars in person or sports in person, if your student is a remote student, they will have access to participate in those sports. So if my student's in remote learning and they want to be a part of, if we get to play basketball, they will have access to play basketball. That is a definite moving forward with extracurriculars. Some other important areas here. If you would ever, I had some questions. If you want to change from hybrid to remote, how do we do that? Please just contact the Finley office and we will get you switched. With that, we're having a lot of switching going on right now, and it's definitely my goal and the office's goal to get everybody their schedules as soon as possible. This is later in the presentation, but we're looking at probably mid next week being the earliest. We will get you those. That's our target, to get you those schedules on the parent portal midweek next week. We're just having to change a lot of things around with staffing and numbers as students are changing what their selection would be. But if you would like to go from hybrid to remote, please contact the Finley office. Visitors in the schools will be restricted, as I said before, only for those essential personnel during phase 4. If there is a need to drop off an item, we're going to try to do one person in the office at a time. And obviously, parents, when you are coming in, or visitors, please be sure to wear that mask and keep that social distance. Any routine illness that keeps a child out of school will be treated as it has in the past, with you just calling them in sick to school. For those circumstances, students will not be offered that remote learning option. They would just be absent and collaborate with that teacher for missed work or lessons to get caught up. Supply lists, they have been sent out, and they are also posted on that Finley website. You can select the tab supply list. If you are still in need of that, you can always reach out to us here at the office, and we can email that to you. Supply lists include materials needed for both that virtual and hybrid experience. All items for that virtual, other than like the paper towels, tissues, or Clorox wipes, are basically needed for that virtual experience. But know that when we hopefully do get back to that all in-person learning this year, or if you switch at that trimester, all of the supplies would be expected at that time. Mask breaks. Mask breaks will include a time for students to go outside, remove their mask, social distance. These breaks, just so you know, are not going to look like recess. They are going to be more or less a time to stretch, some engaging activities where, they may just stand up, move around in their spot, do some stretching, but it's not going to look like a recess time period during our mask breaks. Student schedules, as I said, will be made available hopefully around 8/19. I did have some questions about remote learning students and what their schedule will look like. Right now, we're able to work the schedule to where remote learning students are going through an actual schedule just like they would be here in school. So students will be expected to log in with their teacher during their regular bell scheduled time that it says in Teacherese parent portal, and they will be interacting live for a portion of time with their teacher. So again, they will be having multiple teachers. It will be per the bell schedule. I did put in our welcome back packets. All of 3 of our bell schedules, which is an 11:30 dismissal, a 1:30 dismissal, and our 3 o'clock dismissal. And I made them real big for all of our families so they could put them on the refrigerator or what have you, and stick to that schedule. And that's when you would be looking for those students to log in with their teacher on that Google Classroom. Transportation. For those of you and your students who are going to be riding the bus, we've met with our bus company yesterday, and the Illinois Department of Public Health says no more than 50 students can be on a bus at a given time. I can tell you right now that we are not near 50 students, which is good. We're doing assigned seating this year on the buses, so you will be expected to stay in your assigned seat from the time you get there to the time you get off. And ventilation, we're going to be asking people to open up those windows, weather permitting. All riders are required to wear a mask, and masks should be on prior to entry and not removed until off of that school bus. As I said, assigned seats will occur, and students will be required to show that self-certification form to the bus driver when they get on. If they do not have a self-certification form, they will be positioned at the front left of that bus in their own seat. And then when they get off the bus, we will have to go through that self-certification process with them here at the school. Sunrise, which is our bus company, has assured us that they will be doing enhanced bus cleaning with EPA-approved chemicals, and they will be doing this nightly. They've also informed us that if we have a student come here that is ill or has COVID-19 symptoms, that they will disinfect that bus as soon as we notify them immediately prior to picking up those students from school. Buses will be loaded from the back to front and then for entry, and then unloaded from front to back for dismissal. This is our self-certification form, parents, that your students will have to come to school with. And basically on this form, you will just go through and circle yes or no to these answers. If your child answers yes to any of these questions, we are asking you to please keep your child home from school, and then obviously contact our health office to see when your child can attend school next. And our nurses will answer any questions that you might have for them. Some more details regarding the virus, specifically any infectious disease symptoms observed during the school day will be addressed immediately. Students or staff displaying symptoms of an infectious disease or COVID-19 will be immediately referred to the health office aide, and only one student or staff member will be allowed in that health office at a single time. Symptoms of an infectious disease, COVID, if they are present, students will be quarantined and monitored in an isolation room until parents, guardians pick them up from school. We do have multiple quarantine areas here at the junior high for if students are infected. Students should be picked up. We are asking them to be picked up within 1 hour of notification from the school health office that they need to be picked up. And if symptoms of an infectious disease are present in staff, they will be sent home immediately. All individuals coming in close contact with a symptomatic student or staff member will be notified. Close contact means that the individual per ISB was within 6 feet of the individual with symptoms for more than 15 minutes. Any individual coming in close contact with a person who tested positive for COVID-19 or is suspected of having COVID-19 should isolate and at home and monitor their symptoms for 14 days. Individuals with close contact with a symptomatic student or staff member will receive information outlining CDC and the Illinois Department of Public Health guidelines for monitoring their symptoms. Symptomatic staff and students may not return to school unless they have met the CDC or Illinois Department of Health guidelines, which are listed below. Symptomatic staff and students who suspect that they have COVID-19, whether they were tested or not, should stay at home and not return to school until 72 hours have elapsed from resolution of fever without fever-reducing medication, and 10 days have passed after symptoms first appeared. All symptomatic staff and students are highly encouraged to be tested for COVID-19. Parents will be provided guidance to assist in determining if their student should return to school. And medically fragile or immunocompromised students must consult with their medical provider prior to returning to school. And then lastly, returning students must check in with the health office or nurse upon entry back into school. And then this, obviously, our last section here is confirmed COVID-19 cases. Parents, guardians of a student with a confirmed case of COVID-19 will be highly encouraged to voluntarily report their diagnosis. Staff members with a confirmed case of COVID-19 will be required to report their diagnosis to their administrator. Building principals will notify their school communities of known confirmed cases of COVID-19 via the district's electronic notification system and the scope and duration of any classroom quarantine or school's closure. The Cook County Department of Public Health will be notified. And in these circumstances, we will be working hand in hand with the Illinois Department of Public Health, and they will be basically providing us with what we should be doing next. Last but not least here, just a reminder for our parents that open house is going to be August 20th. It's going to be virtual this year. There will be a letter being sent out tomorrow with specific times. We're going to have separate sessions, and this will include curriculum welcome videos as well as a live Zoom segment for parents to meet and greet with those teachers at their grade level and with the Encore teachers. The schedule and Zoom information is scheduled to be sent out tomorrow, August 13th. And then Chromebook pickup will be August 20th and 21st. The 20th is reserved for our 7th and 8th grade students. And during that time, you will be getting Chromebooks. You will be getting any books that you may need if you are a student who is virtual, and water bottles and other notifications as they develop. And then lastly, the August 21st date, I felt very strongly about this, making sure that we could get our 6th graders back into the building and do a walkthrough. We were unable to do our traditional step-up day last year with the situation at hand. So we are going to do this responsibly. But I would very much so love to see all of our students and families that are feeling well come in and do this walkthrough into Finley. We have a scavenger hunt set up, and our teachers have been working hard on developing some fun things for you guys to do and walking around the building with that August 21st date. So at this point, that does conclude our walkthrough presentation, and I can say firsthand that I'm very excited to see our students, see our families. I know that this is a time that brings anxiety, but I'm confident that we will succeed in this, and I'm looking forward to a good, positive school year this year, and looking forward to seeing your students. At this time, I'd like to more or less open it back up to Carrie and Socorro to say any closing remarks regarding EL or special ed. And if you do have questions, you can, like I said, submit those on the comments section here, and I will answer those after Dr. Mendoza and Mr. Hildegan speak to the best of my ability.
Just regarding the EL program, I want you to just feel confident that we are trying to do our best in providing those services for the students and being flexible in the way that we are delivering our instruction and services at this time. And as students, as Mr. Youngberg mentioned, there's numbers that are changing constantly, so we're trying to be adaptive as quickly as possible and just making sure that all of our students are getting the support that they need. And if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to just reach out. You could call the school and they will contact me, or just send me an email to smendoza@crsd1275.org.
And I'll mention a little bit more about the social emotional curriculum that Mr. Youngberg referenced. It's the EduGuide curriculum that we're looking to roll out this year. So we're going to be, we're in preparations to do that now. We had just met with the company yesterday virtually, and our school counselors are also going to be working together with us on this rollout. And so if you've got a 7th or 8th grader, this will be a change from the way we did our universal screenings last year. We did the Review 360 screenings for behavioral identification of any students that we felt through their responses might need that social support or a touch base or a check-in. So we're utilizing the EduGuide for that purpose this year in lieu of the Review 360 screeners. But it also does more. So it's really a social emotional curriculum, and we're excited about it. We've been wanting to do this, and you'll hear more information about it and how your students will participate. And it's going to be all online, so it'll work really well with our Chromebook platform that we're using now for both remote and in-person instruction. If you had a student that's just coming up through 6th grade, it might sound unfamiliar to you because the Review 360 that we're continuing to do for the elementary school students, the teachers complete those. The students don't complete those ratings themselves like the junior high students did in the past. So look to hear more about that from us shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Hildegans. And again, I'd just like to thank everybody for taking this time to be with us here today so we could answer your questions. I want to thank all of you for submitting those questions on the Google form. And I wish you guys nothing but the best. And I hope you're able to enjoy this last piece of summer. And we look forward to seeing everyone here soon. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.